What up, fam? Agent O here with another thoughts slash rants, or what I am gonna start calling thrants. And this is in response to the video that has gone like viral everywhere. The video titled "Why I Hate to Be Asian." I really wasn't gonna do one of these response videos because there's just so many out there, and they've all kind of hit the point. They hit the nail on the head. Just pointing out that the video was overall just racist and just pointing out a bunch of generic stereotypes, and that the guy was basically a dumbass. I felt like doing one anyway, so because just I'm just tired of seeing these videos, and I'm tired of seeing them get so much acknowledgement, whether they be positive or negative. Granted, since the topic is very negative in nature, it should be met with a very negative response because, there's a lot of people out there that don't see color. So, as far as like, how it defines an individual. And so that's pretty much why I'm doing this video, is just to kind of throw in my 2 cents along in the pot with everyone else. And, if anyone still thinks, or they try to tell you that race relations and tolerance and the racial tolerance in America have progressed any, like they've gotten better, then they're either delusional fools in denial or just lethargic devils trying to fool you. I mean, people like this guy and that one blonde-haired chick from UCLA, I can't remember either their names, and their names aren't important because I feel like if you refer to these people by name, you're kind of helping them keep their names relevant when, they really shouldn't. I just found out recently that that UCLA chick she pretty much got like 15 minutes of infamy. She had some swimsuit spread in a magazine, and just because she was on YouTube talking racist stereotypical stuff about Asians, and it that kind of bothered me because we shouldn't be giving people shine, or letting them be popular for being so ignorant and dumb. It's like she got rewarded for her ignorance, only because she's a slightly attractive, blonde-haired girl. And, in America, that's like the American dream, is to, get a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl or something. And I know that sounds stereotypical, but you'd be surprised at how many guys I've seen who go looking for just that and nothing else, which dumbfounds me because there's so many beautiful women in the world. In fact, I mean, there's beautiful girl. I've seen girls just walking down the street that look way better than her, white, black, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, Asian, whatever. So how somebody, I guess everybody's taste is different, but it is what it is. Personally, I wouldn't have gave her a swimsuit spread. One, for being an ignorant racist and being stupid, and two, because I don't think she's all that, because I've seen much better. But anyway, I'm just really tired and pissed off that, more and more people are coming out of the woodwork with these kinds of vids. I mean, am I wrong for like hoping that these individuals get curb stomped by somebody one day for, the ignorant racist stuff that they spew? It just really boils my blood. I can't really understand either of their thought process or their logic as to why they felt the need to at this particular time, at this particular time, to express their stereotypical racist feelings towards Asians, or if anybody feels like towards any race. I YouTube isn't the format for that stuff. I mean, granted it is because it's freedom of speech, but it's seen as a bad look, and it's seen as in bad taste to do it on there. The only like real explanation that I can even think of at the moment is that these people are just really self-absorbed and egotistical, and I guess they felt compelled to let everyone in their on the interwebs and in their little circle of friends just how ignorant they are. And I mean, did this guy or this girl, did they honestly think that no one was going to see those vids? And what a coward the guy was for hurrying up and trying to take down the vid off of his Facebook page before it went viral. I mean, once you throw it on the internet, if one person sees it and decides to copy it, that means it's going to go everywhere, depending on how wild and, retarded the video is. But anyway, I mean, it should have been obvious to these people that your vid was going to be seen in a negative light, and it was going to gain steam and be seen by more people because it was so negative. It's obvious that, people like these two, they live in their own little pathetic bubble of a world where they don't associate with, I don't think they associate with Asians and probably anyone else outside of their race. I wouldn't be surprised if he had similar feelings about blacks or Hispanics, or any other race either. I mean, I know that's being judgmental, but, I'm judging by, the evidence of his own video. I'm just saying, I call it like I see it, basically. I've never been one to want to, censor anyone, and even people like this who are just racist bigots and they're ignorant, they do have a right to express themselves, even though what they choose to express is in very poor taste, which makes me wonder about people that are vocally outward about their racism as opposed to people that are, undercover racist. I mean, the old saying goes, better the devil you know than the devil you don't, right? But personally, I can't stand either one. I mean, one is just blatantly flagrant and open with their ignorant racism, and those people are kind of like cockroaches, because for every one you see, there's like 100 more that you don't see. And the undercover racists are dangerous because they'll try to find the sneakiest ways to do racist things to people, and you can't really pull the racist card on them because what they did is so ambiguous that it would be hard for you to prove, like in a court of law or just like amongst your peers, that the guy was being racist. Like I remember one time in college, I was in the mall with a friend of mine, with an old friend of mine who, he was white, and I went to the ATM to get some money, and once I got the money, I checked my balance on the receipt, and I crumpled it up, and threw it in the garbage, but, I missed. I tried to take it like, a little basketball shot type of deal. I missed, and, it landed next to the trash can, and this white guy in a suit walks by and looks at me and smiles and says, if that was a basketball, you'd have made it, and then kept on going. And my friend who was white looked at me like his jaw was just on the ground and his eyes were just bugging out. Like, he looked at me with that expression like, did that guy just say what I think he said? And then I looked back at him and I didn't say anything. I was just like, yep, that guy said what you think he said. And to this day, I can't figure out whether the guy was being racist or whether he really knew, I don't know whether he knew what he was saying was racist, or whether he was throwing that racist little bit out there and doing it in such a way that it's ambiguous and I can't really put my finger on it, and there's people like that all over the place. There's people that will overlook other people. Like, say you're at a job, they'll overlook other people being lazy and not really doing their job really well, but then we'll look at all the black people and point out when they're being lazy or when they're not doing their work. And you have to really work hard at trying to build enough evidence to prove that the person is being discriminatory. You almost can't even use racism at the workplace anymore when you're trying to prove to somebody that they're racist. You have to use discrimination because that holds better in court than trying to point out that somebody's racist, which is just odd to me. But this is the way the world has become, and it's unfortunate. I'm just tired of having to tolerate racist bigotry, and as a matter of fact, I'm just tired of racial tolerance, or should I say, the very definition of tolerance. I mean, tolerance is it means a fair, objective, and permissive attitude toward those whose opinions, practices, race, religion, nationality, etc. differ from one's own, freedom from bigotry, basically. And I feel like when it comes to dealing with issues of race and religion and etc., I feel that having the genuine respect is better than having tolerance, because one can tolerate pain, or another person can tolerate, I don't know, standing well within your somebody standing well within your like personal space with horrible body odor, but that doesn't mean that you have to like it. You can tolerate anything if you work hard at it, but you can tolerate something and just not like it. So rather than just being tolerant, to race and religious beliefs and whatnot, we should teach and promote racial respect and education instead of tolerance. We should push more towards breaking racial barriers and stereotypes, because only then I think that we can get closer to just not having to even think about the issue of race in general. One of the that saddest things of all for me is that I wouldn't be surprised if either one of these upstanding individuals would, and because they're in college and they're seeking careers and whatnot, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up in some job with authority over others, which really bothers me. I find that the possibility of this is pretty depressing. There's already so much of this negativity on the down low, racist bullshit in most of the places that we work and live and go to enjoy ourselves. And it's in gaming, it's in comic books, and it's in a lot of our favorite media, like like I said, movies and video games. It's definitely there. And like I said, if you can either choose to acknowledge it, or you can be stupid and be a skeptic. So I won't even get into even the subject of racial privilege, i.e. white privilege, because I know that there's a lot of people, mainly white people, who believe that white privilege doesn't exist. And I've heard a lot of valid arguments to support their opinions, because some people argue that not all white people are they're not all able to take advantage of that privilege, and that's well and true. But I think that part of that reason, and I think that the reason why it does exist, is that I just don't think every white person is able to take that advantage. Obviously, if you're a white person of a certain social status, if you're pretty or attractive, etc., you'd be more inclined to get what you want or attain positions of authority and power, even though you may not possess the skills and education that another white person or person of color who may not have the status and money or looks but possess those skills and education, you might end up getting that job over the other person. And that's kind of the reason why they had to do affirmative action in the first place, because it was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that this sort of thing was happening all the time. And for those of you who still persist to argue that white privilege does not exist, need I remind you all that this motherfucker got elected president twice. After all, he did come from a rich family who was able to use their status and money to buy him into a college that he wasn't academically qualified to get accepted into in the first place. I mean, he was a C-class student while he was in whatever Ivy League school he was in. I can't remember. I want to say it was Stanford, but I don't think that was it. He was given a couple of oil companies, like I think maybe 2 or 3. I know it was more than one. I know that for sure. He's given oil companies which he ran right into the ground. I mean, it's oil, dude. It practically sells itself. I mean, it's like having a porn tube site that doesn't get any internet traffic. Like, you really have to mess up managing a porn tube website like that for it to fail. Because, I mean, porn is another thing that just sells itself, It doesn't take much. You just need a naked dude and a naked chick, or a naked dude and a naked dude, or a naked chick and a naked chick, whatever the combination have you. We could have a bunch of naked people all together doing the mattress mambo, and it'll sell, like that, But, he also became president, and because he was, it's not because he was qualified. I mean, I don't even think he did a good job when he was governor of Texas. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what if there was a black version of George Bush, who was a black guy who was completely identical to George Bush in every way, who made the same exact moves that George Bush made in life? and his parents had money and got him into this Ivy League school, and he was able to run for president. Do you honestly think that, because everybody knows George Bush is a dumb motherfucker, do you honestly think they would let a dumb motherfucker who's black in the White House? There's no way on God's green earth that would ever happen. The Republicans would have a field day trying to tear this guy down, and they really wouldn't have to use race to do it. They would just have to talk about all the failings that Bush had. They would just have to apply that to the black guy, and they of course they would do their best to keep race out of it, because they don't want to be seen that way, even though we all know there's Republicans out there that are racist as hell. It's one of the reasons why I think Barack Obama got elected in the first place, because one, they didn't really have a lot on him. You know, he ran Chicago pretty well when he was governor or whatever, and they really didn't have, you know, they were reaching for bad things to say about him. You know, he was good in front of an audience, unlike Bush. You know, even though people made fun of Barack for needing a teleprompter to speak, but if you look back at Bush had a teleprompter too, and that fool can deliver a good speech. So, I mean, what does that tell you? You know, Barack had to be on his P's and Q's, and he had to be on point, because nobody was ever going to take him seriously just because he was black. He already had 2 strikes against him just because he was black and he was running for president. So the fact that he made it, and the fact that he made it was partly due to the fact that he knows his stuff, and also partly due to the fact that Bush did such a bad job that it helped make it easier for him to become elected president. But I guess I got into white privilege anyway, even though I meant to not really get into it. But that's pretty much my rant. I want to keep this short. But that's pretty much my rant on the video, why I would hate to be Asian, or whatever the hell he titled it. But before I go, I want to drop this little movie gem of knowledge that I saw in the movie The Man with the Iron Fists. I really dug this part of the scene, and I don't want to give too much away from it for anybody who hasn't seen the movie yet, but I just want you to watch this clip, because I thought what was said really speaks to this subject, and the subject of race in general. And even though The Man with the Iron Fist wasn't the greatest martial art movie, there was still stuff in there that I enjoyed and that I thought was done really well, and I think this is one of those scenes. So I'm Agent O, and I'm out. Peace.
皆平等，眾生皆無價。